Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to break down week 13 of the Overwatch League. I'm going to give you my thoughts and predictions for all of the matches that we have coming up this weekend. Now these matches of course are the first matches for May, which means that we have the first matches that will be counting towards the standings for the tournament that happens here at the end of May. So 3 games will be played this month by teams in North America, 4 games will be played by the teams in Asia, and we will have our tournament set. So let's pull up the games for this weekend and let's take a look. First match of the weekend is the Seoul Dynasty taking on the Hangzhou Charge. I think that one is pretty easy to predict. I think the Seoul Dynasty should win that game. I think they are the better team. And even though they got completely rolled by Shanghai this past weekend, who hasn't been completely rolled by Shanghai? I think if you look at Seoul Dynasty, that's their first loss of the season, right? I think it's very difficult for a team to be very, 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 very good and not lose games. I think losing a game is always something that's important for a team when they go up against really good competition, or just in general when they lose a game. I think Seoul will bounce back. They will fix some of their problems. They'll look and see what they can improve upon, and they're going to be just fine, I think, this next weekend. And moving forward, I think they should be fine. Probably the match of the weekend. My big pick game for Saturday is the New York Excelsior taking on the Shanghai Dragons. This one's going to be good. 8-1 Shanghai Dragons, 7-1 New York Excelsior, plus 20 differential for Shanghai, plus 17 differential for New York. These are 2 very good teams. Shanghai has been super dominant in every match they've played. New York, with the Shanghai with the exception of their match against Chengdu, New York with their exception of their match against Philadelphia. These are 2 teams that are both very, very good. This will give us a very good idea on where teams are. Shanghai's been winning a lot of games 3-0. New York's winning a lot of games 3-0. I don't expect this one to be a 3-0. I thought there was a chance with Seoul versus Shanghai because we really just didn't know enough about Seoul or Shanghai. Necessarily, going up against a really good team. This one I think should not be a 3-0. I think both of these teams are too good for it to be a 3-0. I think ultimately Shanghai does win it. I think they've looked better. And when you have, New York didn't play well against the Fusion, so can we really think New York will play really, really well against the Dragons? I think it's a different team. In terms of the way they've played and the way they've looked. I think they look significantly better now than they did early in the season. But I think Shanghai does as well. And I think Shanghai's just been so dominant that I still think they will win over New York. But I think this will be a really good match. Moving on to the third match for the weekend, the first match in the North America region for the weekend, we have the Dallas Fuel taking on the Washington Justice again. A rematch of a match from a few weeks ago. The Dallas Fuel dominated the Washington Justice last time. I expect the same thing again. Washington Justice aren't that good. They haven't really done anything to impress me over the past several weeks. This season in general, they've been pretty bad, pretty lackluster. So I don't expect a great performance out of them. I'd expect roughly the same performance out of them that we've seen the past several weeks, and I don't expect much from them. I expect there's going to be a pretty one-sided win for the Fuel. Next, we have the Atlanta Reign taking on the LA Valiant. This one I actually think could be a pretty good series. I think the Reign are very good, but they've just kind of struggled recently because they've had a lot of games against Philadelphia. Then you have the Valiant, who I think have been on a skid. They haven't been playing super well. But their differential isn't terrible. It's -9. For 2-6, -9, it's not too bad. Their wins are against Dallas and San Francisco, of course, but in their most recent matchups against those teams, they've also lost. I don't see the Valiant winning this game. They certainly have a chance, but I just think that they have not performed as well as I think they had been earlier in the season. I think we've seen where they can perform. They just don't consistently hit that high. And maybe it's because hero pools don't favor them. Maybe it isn't. I don't really know. But when you have this weekend and there's no McCree, there's no Widowmaker, and that's really where KSP shines, I don't see the Valiant having a good weekend when they can't have their best player playing arguably their best player playing his best heroes. So I think the Reign should win this one. Final match for Saturday is the Houston Outlaws taking on the San Francisco Shock. I'm picking the Shock. This may come as a shock to some people. It shouldn't. Obviously, the Shock no longer have Sinatra, but I don't think that matters. Sinatra wasn't really playing this season anyway, and they've been good. They've been good as it is. I have this opinion that a lot of people probably will disagree with, but I don't even think Sinatra was the best DPS player as a whole on the team. Last season, he was the best DPS player in the league because he was playing Zarya at a really high level, and he was playing Doomfist at a really high level, two of his best heroes, and he was able to dominate on those heroes for the majority of the season. But we saw Stage 4 last season. Sinatra barely played. I think when it comes down to it, their best DPS player is Striker. I think Striker is incredible. I think Striker is an insane player. And as long as the Shock still have Striker and Rascal and Architect and Ons, I think they're going to be just fine. So I'm not worried about them. I think the Outlaws have looked pretty good as a whole this season recently. I mean, their recent results are not bad. I think they've won like 4 of their last 6. Their losses were to Paris and a 3-2 loss to Dallas. The Outlaws aren't a bad team by any means. They're an average team. They've just been struggling a lot with some of these better teams. They could beat the Shock. They did it last season. The Outlaws are a better team now, I think, as a whole than they were last season. But it just really comes down to whether or not the meta favors them more than it favors the Shock. I think the Outlaws don't mind being in a sniperless meta because their snipers don't really do a whole lot anyway. You know, they don't run a lot of Linkser. They like to run Dante Blase. Surprised they don't run Hydration more than they do, but you know that is what it is. But like they said, they run a lot of Dante Blase, so they could run a lot of Pharah if they want to run Pharah. They can run a lot of Doomfist. They can run Doomfist Sombra. They can run a lot of different things that I think fit their style a lot better, and they don't really mind no McCree Widow. So it'll be interesting to see what this match is, how close it is. But I think the Shock should dominate them. I think the Shock have looked very, very good recently, and I think there's not really much of a challenge to them. Moving on to Sunday, we have the Seoul Dynasty taking on the Hangzhou Spark, a rematch from last weekend. I think the Seoul Dynasty last weekend proved to me that they are significantly better than the Spark are. Maybe not significantly better. They're just better than the Spark are. The Spark are in a weird spot. I think they've been struggling a decent amount, but I also think the Spark are just getting unlucky with what's going on. Like, the Spark really do need certain hero pools to perform at a high level. The Spark need that McCree Widowmaker available for Godsby to play at his best, especially with McCree. They really like having McCree play. So I think I look at this team and they just are struggling because they don't have a lot of the flexibility that some other teams have, and that's where they struggle the most. I think if the Spark had another flex DPS player, a really good flex DPS player, they'd be so much better. If the Spark were to find a way to finesse Hacksaw onto this team, because we all know what's going on with Vancouver, they're imploding right before our very eyes. If they found a way to finesse Hacksaw onto this team, this is a championship caliber team, right? Maybe you try to bring in Janu as a flex tank, just for that little additional bolster to a spot that's been a little up in the air. But I think where the rest of the team is, this is a really good team. I think this is a very good team with whatever they have remaining. And this is a team that I would 100% put as a potential championship roster if they were able to get a very, very, very good flex DPS player to put alongside Godspeed. I think Otto's very good. I think they should play more Otto, and I think that one of the things that would make the Hangzhou Spark better is if they played more off-meta stuff, ran more Rein Zarya, ran more Dive. I think they ran Otto more. I really like Otto. Maybe he's not as good as Adora and Bazi. I really like him, so I think that they should. But that is what it is. Moving on to the second game for Sunday, it's the Chengdu Hunters taking on the NYXL. I'm picking the NYXL. They beat them last week pretty handily. New York is a very good team. They look very good. Chengdu doesn't look very good. I think New York should win that one pretty easily. Moving on to the North American matches. The first one for Sunday is the Fusion against the Eternal. That's my big pick because that match has been good every single week. Every single time they've played, it's been a very good match. I think the Fusion win this one again. No Xe this week. Once again. So we're looking at another week, potentially with that, matchup of Soon and Nico versus Carpe and Ivy. But also, the last time that the Philadelphia Fusion, McCree and Widowmaker were not in rotation. So there's a very good chance that the Eternal can pull this one off again and manage to get a win over this team who they have not beaten since that first time. It's the same. It's a similar hero pool, similar damage heroes. The same damage heroes are out. The support and tank is not the exact same, but similar. So I'm interested to see what happens with this one. I think this is a very good matchup as always, and I think that it'll be fun to watch and interesting to see what happens with these teams when they match up again. Next match is the Florida Mayhem against the Boston Uprising. The Florida Mayhem destroyed the Boston Uprising in historic fashion last weekend. Nothing's changing about that. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to talk about the Boston Uprising. They make me sad. Final match of the weekend is the Toronto Defiant against the LA Gladiators. Surefour playing against his old team. I think this match could be pretty good. I'm pretty high on the Toronto Defiant. I think they're better than what their record suggests. I'm not as high on the Gladiators. I think they're worse than what their record suggests. I don't think they're awful though. I think that they're just pretty good. I think that this will be an interesting match because I think potentially this could be much closer than what we think, especially with the Surefour against his old team situation, because I think that that's actually one of the best things that this team has going for them is Surefour wanting to get revenge, or whatever you might call it. I don't think it's revenge. I think he left on his own accord. So I think it would be very interesting to see. So that's what I'm kind of interested to see. But that's it for the matches. That's it for all of the picks. I'd like to hear what you think in the comments down below. Give me your predictions, your thoughts on any of these matches. I'd love to hear it. I'm excited for this weekend. I think there's some good matches, so I'm ready to see what happens. But that's everything I have for you today. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing for more stuff like this in the future. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside. That's the most important thing. But until next time, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you once again, and bye-bye.